The stars looked wrong through the cracked viewport. Captain Zara knew every constellation in this sector, but now they spun slowly as her ship drifted without control. The Valkyrie transport vessel. Star Whisper had been her home for 20 cycles. Now it might become her. Zara stood on the bridge watching her all-female crew work at their stations. Their silver skin caught the red emergency lights, making them look like living flames. Her people, the Valkyrie, were known across the galaxy for their advanced technology and graceful ships, but all that technology meant nothing now. Captain, the main power core is failing faster than predicted. Her second in command. Lyrics moved to stand beside her. The crystal matrix has multiple fractures. We have perhaps 40 hours before complete system failure. Around them, the bridge hummed with activity, despite the crisis. Thyma worked at the communications console, her delicate antennae twitching as she sent distress signals into the void. Kessa, the engineer, pulled panels from the walls, trying to reroute power from dying systems. The youngest crew member, Naira, barely passed her training-monitored life support with wide purple eyes. "How many have answered our call?" Zara asked, though she already knew the answer. Thyma turned from her station, her face showing the strain. "None, Captain. We are too far from Allied space. The Dracon refused to enter this sector. The Etherians say the risk is too great. Even the merchant guilds will not come." Zara understood their fear. This region of space was known as the Scar, a vast graveyard of ships from an ancient war. Debris fields stretched for light years, filled with dead vessels and worse things. Automated weapons from civilizations long dead still hunted anything that moved. Most species marked it as forbidden space. The Star Whisper had been taking a shortcut. Zara had made the choice, believing her ship's advanced shields could handle any danger. But a massive piece of debris had struck them, moving faster than their sensors could track. It had punched through their crystalline hull like paper. Now they drifted deeper into the Scar, every hour taking them further from help. Their beautiful ship, with its flowing lines and living crystal technology, was dying around them. The air grew thinner as the atmospheric processors failed. The temperature dropped as heating systems went offline. "Captain, we must consider the emergency pods." Lyric spoke quietly so the younger crew would not hear. Zara looked at the status display. The emergency pods were damaged too. Only 3 of the 8 remained functional. Her crew numbered 12. "No," she said firmly. "We stay together. We find another way," but mathematics did not lie, and Zara knew it. They had sent distress signals for 3 days now. Each hour that passed meant less power for life support. The other ships that had entered the Scar had never been seen again. Their wreckage probably drifted somewhere in the debris fields, adding to the ancient collection of the dead. On the morning of the 4th day, Thyma suddenly straightened at her station. "Captain, I am receiving something. Another ship refusing to help," Kessa said bitterly from her position under a console. No, Thyma adjusted her controls, her antennae standing straight with excitement. "This is different. The signal is crude but strong. Someone is answering." "Put it through," Zara ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was unlike anything they had heard before. It was rough and spoke Galactic standard, with a strange accent, the words choppy but understandable. "This is human vessel. Wanderer Captain Katie Morgan speaking. Received your distress call." "Yeah. We see you on sensors, pretty banged up there. We are coming to help. Stand by for arrival in approximately 10 hours. The bridge went completely silent. Every crew member stared at the speakers as if they had sprouted wings. "Humans," Naira whispered. "Are they real?" Zara had heard stories about humans. Everyone had. They were the newest species to achieve faster than light travel, having reached the stars only 100 cycles ago. While the Valkyrie had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, humans had barely left their home system. The stories said they were insane. Their ships were ugly constructs of metal and ceramics held together with primitive adhesives. They took risks no sane species would consider. They had been known to ram their vessels into enemies when weapons failed. They fixed critical systems with improvised tools. "Captain, we cannot accept their help," Lyric said. Humans are dangerous and unpredictable. Their technology is primitive. They could make our situation worse. Worse than dying. Zara asked. The crew exchanged glances. They all knew the stories, but they also knew their situation. The power core flickered again and several consoles went dark, then struggled back to life. Thyma, tell them our coordinates, Zara commanded. Tell them about the debris fields and the automated weapons. Tell them everything. Captain Thyma hesitated. They might not understand our technology. Their ships are so basic, then we will teach them. Zara said, we will do whatever is necessary. The hours passed slowly. The crew prepared what they could. Moving critical supplies to the sections still had atmosphere. They sealed off the damaged areas and transferred all remaining power to life support and communications. Kessa managed to boost their sensors enough to detect the approaching ship. When the human vessel appeared on their screens, the crew gathered. To look, it was the ugliest ship any of them had ever seen. The Wanderer looked like someone had welded random pieces of metal together with no thought for beauty or grace. Sensor dishes stuck out at odd angles. The hull was covered in patches of different, colored metal showing countless repairs. Burn marks decorated every surface. Some parts seemed to be held on with cables. That thing still flies, Naira asked in amazement. It is approaching at maximum speed, Thyma reported. They are not slowing down for the debris. The human ship plowed through the scar like it was empty space. Small debris bounced off its hull without effect. Larger pieces it simply pushed aside with its reinforced front section. When an automated mine activated, the human ship did not even try to dodge. It fired a primitive projectile weapon that destroyed the mine in a cloud of fragments. They are insane. Lyrics breathed. They are coming to help, Zara corrected. That is all that matters. The human ship pulled alongside the Star. Whisper with surprising grace for such an ugly vessel. Katie Morgan requested permission to board. Grant it. Zara said meet them at airlock 7. It still has atmosphere. Zara and Lyrics made their way through the dying ship. The corridors that once glowed with soft bioluminescent light were now dark and cold. Their breath formed clouds in the freezing air. Ice crystals were forming on the walls as the environmental systems failed. The airlock cycled, and 3 humans stepped through. Katie Morgan was nothing like Zara expected. The human captain was short even by human standards, with brown hair tied back in a messy knot. Her clothes were stained with oil and other substances Zara could not identify. She wore heavy boots that clanked on the crystalline floor. Behind her stood 2 other human women, Lisa, who was tall and carried a massive bag of tools, and Amy, who was studying everything with intense curiosity. The temperature difference hit the humans immediately, but they did not complain. Katie pulled out a small device and scanned the air, then nodded to her companions. Breathable but thin. She said, we can work with this. She turned to Zara and extended her hand. Captain Morgan, nice to meet you, though I wish it was under better circumstances. Zara carefully took the offered hand, unsure of the human custom. Katie gripped firmly and shook, once then released. The human skin was surprisingly warm compared to the dying ship show. Us the damage, Katie said without ceremony. We brought everything we could think of, but I need to see what we are dealing with. Lyric stepped forward. Her 4-fingered hands clasped formally. Captain Morgan, I must inform you that our technology is highly advanced. Your species may not have the capability to understand or repair our systems. Katie grinned, showing teeth in what Zara hoped was a friendly expression. Lady, I fix things. That is what I do. Been doing it since I was old enough to hold a wrench. Advanced or not, broken is broken. Let's have a look. They led the humans to the engine room. The massive space was dominated by the crystalline power core, a structure of living crystal that normally pulsed with brilliant light. Now it flickered weakly, large cracks running through. Its surface. Lisa whistled long and low. That is one fancy battery. It is not a battery, Amy said, moving closer. It is some kind of crystalline matrix that channels energy through programmed lattice structures. Absolutely beautiful. You understand it? Kessa asked, surprised the Vilcari engineer had followed them clearly. Skeptical of the human visitors, Amy shrugged. I understand that it is broken. See those cracks? They are causing feedback loops. The energy is reflecting back on itself instead of flowing. Properly, like a river hitting a dam and flooding backwards. That is surprisingly accurate. Kessa admitted. Katie was already pulling tools from her bag. Okay, ladies, here is what we are going to do. Lisa, I need you to run power cables from the Wanderer. We will use our reactor as a temporary backup. Amy, start mapping their power grid. Find me every non-essential system we can shut down, but our systems are not compatible with your technology. Lyrics protested. Katie looked up from where she was examining. The power core power is power. Electricity flows the same way whether it is in a pretty crystal or ugly copper wire. We just need to make them talk to each other. The humans worked with a speed that amazed the Velkari crew. Lisa ran heavy cables through the corridors, not caring about the aesthetic damage to the beautiful walls. Amy had somehow connected a human computer to their systems and was reading data that should have been incomprehensible to her primitive technology. More Velkari crew members arrived, drawn by curiosity and hope. Thyma watched as Amy rewired her communication console using tools that looked like they belonged in a museum. Naira stared as Lisa welded metal patches over the crystal hull breaches, creating ugly but effective seals. This should not work, Kessa kept saying as she watched Katie bypass entire sections of their power grid. Your methods are so crude. Katie laughed while working. Crude works? Fancy is nice when everything is running smooth. But when stuff breaks, you need simple and reliable. The human captain crawled into spaces too small for the taller Velkari, her hands black with grease and crystal dust. She connected wires with basic clamps. She sealed leaks with a gray substance she called duct tape. She hit stuck components with a hammer until they moved. 4 hours into the repair, Zara found herself working alongside Katie. The human was teaching her how to strip wire insulation, a task so simple that Velkari automated systems usually handled. Your ship is beautiful, Katie said as they worked. But beautiful things break easier than ugly ones. My Wanderer is ugly as sin, but I can fix her with spit and prayer if I have to. Why did you come? Zara asked the question that had been bothering her. You do not know us. You gain nothing from this. Katie stopped working and looked at her. Because you needed help. That is reason enough, but the danger, the risk. Your own people would call you foolish. Probably Katie agreed, then grinned. But humans are good at being foolish. We do foolish things all the time, like going to space in tin cans or trying to fix alien ships we do not understand. Sometimes foolish is just another word for brave. Amy called out from across the room. Katie, I found something. Their navigation system is still partially functional, but it is trying to calculate in base 8 while the backup is running in base 10. That is why they are getting power fluctuations. Can you fix it? Katie called back. Already on it, Amy replied. Give me 10 minutes. Zara watched the young human reprogram systems that had taken Velkari scientists decades to develop. She did it with confidence, using a handheld device that looked like a child toy compared to their technology. Meanwhile, Lisa had established a power connection between the two ships. The Wanderer's reactor was primitive compared to the crystal core, but it was stable and strong. Slowly, lights began to return to the star. Whisper. The life support is stabilizing, Nira reported. From her station, temperature rising, atmosphere thickening. The Velkari crew began to believe something they had thought impossible. The humans were actually fixing their ship. Katie emerged from under a console covered in crystal dust and other debris. Okay, that should hold the power core together. It is not pretty, but it will last long enough to get you to a proper repair station. You used adhesive tape on our power core, Kessa said in disbelief. Really good adhesive tape. Katie corrected. Military grade. The stuff could hold a hull breach if you use enough of it. The repairs continued through the night cycle. The humans showed no signs of tiring. They consumed a black liquid they called coffee that smelled terrible, but seemed to give them unlimited energy. They talked while they worked, telling stories that seemed impossible. Lisa described how her crew had once repaired a station air processor using parts from a food preparation unit. Amy told them about the time they had navigated through an asteroid field with no sensors, just mathematics and luck. Katie shared the story of how she had acquired the Wanderer, buying the decommissioned military vessel for scrap price, and rebuilding it with her own hands. The Valkyrie crew found themselves drawn to these strange creatures who treated impossible situations as puzzles to solve. They watched Lisa lift components that should have required anti-gravity units. Amy solved calculation problems in her head that their computers struggled with. Katie seemed to know instinctively where problems were before their sensors detected them. As the first full day ended, the Star Whisper was transformed. The Star Whisper was no longer beautiful in the traditional Valkyrie sense. Thick black cables ran along corridors that once featured smooth flowing lines. Metal patches covered the crystalline hull like scars. Jury-rigged connections, linked systems, that were never meant to work together. The elegant bridge now featured human monitors bolted to Valkyrie consoles, but it was alive. Zara stood in the engine room, watching the power core pulse with steady light. The cracks were still there, held together by what Katie called epoxy and hope. But energy flowed through the ship again. The air was warm and breathable. The engines hummed with power. "It is miraculous," Lyric said beside her. "They have done the impossible, with primitive tools and stubbornness." Katie approached, wiping her hands on an already filthy cloth. "That should get you home, but you need to take it easy. No jumping to maximum speed, no fancy maneuvers, just nice and steady. You have saved us all," Zara said. "How can we possibly repay such a debt?" Katie waved dismissively. "Just doing the neighborly thing. Besides, it was fun. Your tech is amazing, even broken. I learned more in the last day than in the past year." A sudden alarm cut through the conversation. Thyma's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, we have a problem. Multiple ships approaching. They are not responding to hails." Everyone rushed to the bridge. The main screen showed 5 vessels approaching fast. Their design was familiar to Zara, though she had hoped never to see them again. "Pirates," Lyric said grimly. "Scaven raiders. They must have been waiting for someone to answer our distress call." The Skaven were scavengers who prowled the edges of civilized space. They preferred to attack damaged vessels, taking both cargo and crew. The Star Whisper would be a prize worth fighting for even in its current state. "Our weapons are still offline," Kessa reported. "The repairs focused on life support and engines we need to run." Zara decided, "Maximum speed to the nearest station. The engines are held. Together with tape and prayer, remember?" Katie said, "They will not survive maximum acceleration, then we surrender." Lyric said, "Better to live as prisoners than die free." "Like hell we do," Katie said firmly. "Lisa, get back to the Wanderer prep. All weapons. Amy, I need you to slave their navigation to our systems." "Captain Morgan, we appreciate your help, but you should leave." Zara said, "These pirates will destroy your ship. You have done enough." Katie grinned. "You have not seen humans fight yet. We do not leave people behind, especially not after spending all day fixing their ride." The human crew moved with practiced efficiency. Lisa ran for the airlock while Amy worked at the navigation console. Katie activated her communication device, speaking to someone. On her ship, "Betty, warm up the guns, all of them." "Yes, even the one we are not supposed to have. Load everything we got." "Captain, the Skaven are sending a message," Thyma announced. "Put it through." Zara ordered. The screen filled with the image of a Skaven captain. His scaled face showed predatory pleasure. Well, what do we have here?" "A Valkyrie vessel and a human ship. Both damaged, both far from help. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. This is Captain Morgan of the Wanderer." Katie stepped forward. "We are conducting a legal salvage operation. Back off." The Skaven laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Salvage 1 human ship against 5 raiders. You humans are as stupid as the stories say." "Maybe," Katie agreed, "but we are also stubborn." "Amy, you ready?" "Navigation link established," Amy reported. "Their helm will follow our lead." "Good." Katie turned to Zara. "Trust me." Before Zara could respond, Katie spoke to her ship. "Wanderer, this is Morgan. Execute plan." "Crazy Ivan." The Wanderer suddenly accelerated directly toward the pirate fleet. The Star Whisper, connected by navigational control, followed automatically. The Valkyrie crew cried out in alarm as they headed straight for the enemy ships. They are charging weapons, Kessa reported. Katie seemed unconcerned. Wait for. The pirates opened fire. Energy beams and projectiles filled space. The Wanderer rolled and twisted, pulling the star, whisper in a complex dance that somehow avoided most of the incoming fire. What did hit them struck the Wanderer's reinforced hull, doing minimal damage. Now Katie commanded. The Wanderer fired everything at once. Missiles, lasers, projectile weapons, even what looked like mining charges launched toward the pirates. But they were not aimed at the ships. They were aimed at the debris field around them. The weapons detonated among the ancient wreckage, creating a cloud of spinning metal and crystal. The pirates flew straight into it, their shields flaring as thousands of impacts struck them. One raider lost an engine. Another had its sensors torn away. The Wanderer continued its charge, using its reinforced front section as a battering ram. It struck the lead pirate ship with tremendous force. The Skaven vessel crumpled and spun away, leaking atmosphere. Katie whooped with joy. That is what you get for threatening my friends. The Star Whisper weapons might be offline, but its shields were partially functional. Zara ordered them raised, protecting both ships as they punched through the pirate formation. The raiders tried to pursue, but the debris cloud Katie had created blocked their path. More humans are insane than I thought, Lyric said, watching the pirates fall behind. Insane but effective, Zara replied. They cleared the pirate ambush, but the effort had cost them. The patches on the Star Whisper hull were leaking again. The power core flickered dangerously. Katie and her crew returned to help with new repairs. That was incredibly dangerous. Zara told Katie as they worked to seal a breach. Katie shrugged. Everything worth doing is dangerous. Living is dangerous. But you know what is worse than dangerous? Being the kind of person who runs away when someone needs help. The repairs took several more hours. The pirates did not pursue, probably deciding the prize was not worth the risk of the crazy humans. The two ships limped toward the nearest station together. During the journey, something changed between the two crews. The Velkari stopped seeing the humans as primitive and started seeing them as resourceful. The humans stopped seeing the Velkari as fragile and recognized their grace and wisdom. Thyma learned human card games from Amy, discovering that mathematics was a universal language. Kessa worked with Lisa to create hybrid technologies that combined human durability with Velkari elegance. Nira pestered Katie with endless questions about Earth and human culture. Even Lyrix, who had been most skeptical, found herself respecting the humans. She watched Katie make command decisions with the same careful thought Zara used, just expressed differently. Where Velkari considered options through careful analysis, humans seemed to operate on instinct that was usually correct. On the third day, Nira made a discovery. Captain, she called excitedly, I have been analyzing the human repair methods. They are not random. Their chaotic approach actually follows mathematical patterns similar to our harmony equations. Zara looked at the data her young crew member had compiled. It was true. The humans, seemingly random fixes, followed a kind of intuitive mathematics. They did not calculate it, they felt it. Katie looked at the equations and laughed. Math was never my strong subject. I just fix what feels broken. That is exactly the point. Nira said, you perceive problems through a different sense. Your species has developed an intuitive understanding of systems that we achieve through calculation. It was a revelation that would later change how the two species work together. But at that moment, it simply meant that human duct tape and Velkari crystal technology were not as incompatible as they seemed. The station finally appeared on their sensors, a massive structure that served as a trading post for dozens of species. As they approached, other ships gave them wide berth, probably wondering how a pristine Velkari vessel had ended up looking like it had been repaired by drunk engineers, which was not entirely inaccurate, given how much coffee the humans had consumed. We are being hailed by station control, Thyma announced. They are asking about our condition and that unusual ship configuration. Tell them we are fine, Zara said. We had some technical difficulties, but they have been resolved by our human friends. The communication channel went quiet for a moment, then burst with chatter. The station authorities did not believe it at first. A human ship had rescued a Velkari vessel from the Scar, fought off Skaven pirates, and performed repairs using primitive technology. It sounded like a story told in bars by drunk traders, but the evidence was undeniable. The Star Whisper limped into the docking bay held together by human ingenuity and what appeared to be several kilometers of tape. Station engineers gathered to stare at the impossible sight. Zara stood at the airlock watching. The humans prepare to leave. Their work was done. The Star Whisper was safe. Professional repairs would restore the ship properly, though Zara suspected they would keep some of the human modifications. Katie approached carrying her bag of tools. "You are all set, Captain. The station techs will have you flying pretty again in no time." "You are leaving already?" Zara asked, surprised at the disappointment she felt. Katie nodded. "Got a cargo run to make, bills to pay. You know how it is. Wait," Zara said. "There is something we must discuss. Please come to my ready room." The ready room was one of the few spaces that remained untouched by the repairs. Its walls still glowed with soft bioluminescent light, and the air smelled of Velkari flowering vines. Zara poured 2 cups of the fruit juice the humans had mentioned. Katie accepted the drink and took a sip, her eyes widening. "Okay, that is amazing. No wonder you guard the recipe." "It is not about guarding," Zara said. "We simply never thought to share it." "Other species never asked." The 2 captains sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Zara spoke. "What you did goes beyond simple aid. You risked your ship, your crew, your lives for strangers. The Velkari Council will want to know why Katie thought about it, I guess because we know what it is like to be alone. Humans spent most of our history thinking we were the only intelligent life in the universe. When we finally reached the stars and found all of you, it was amazing but also terrifying. Everyone was so advanced, so sophisticated, we were like children at an adult party." She took another sip of juice, but then we realized something. Every species started somewhere. Every one of you had a first flight, a first contact, a first time being scared, and alone in the dark. We are all just trying to find our way." Zara nodded slowly. "You humans see the universe differently than others." Katie laughed. "We see it as a neighborhood. A really big, weird neighborhood where your neighbors might have tentacles, or crystal skin but still neighbors. And where I come from, you help your neighbors." "There is something else," Zara said. "I have been authorized by my government to make you an offer." Oh, Katie looked wary. "The Velkari Republic wants to establish a formal partnership with human salvage crews. Your methods are unorthodox but effective. There are many damaged vessels in dangerous regions that our own crews cannot reach. We would provide resources, coordinates, and support." Katie leaned forward, interested. "Keep talking. You would remain independent contractors but with official backing, better equipment, access to our technology databases, and most importantly, protection under Velkari law. No more being dismissed as primitive scavengers, and in return you do what you do best. Fix the unfixable, rescue. The lost, show the galaxy that sometimes the newest ideas are exactly what we need." Katie was quiet for a long moment, then grinned. "You had me at better equipment. When do we start?" Zara pulled out a data pad. "The contract is already prepared." As Katie reviewed the terms, Amy and Lisa were saying their own goodbyes to the Velkari crew. Thyma pressed a small crystal into Amy's hand. "This contains our mathematical theorems on systems harmony. You're intuitive. Understanding combined with our calculations could revolutionize how both our species approach problems." Amy hugged the taller alien, causing Thyma and Tenny to twitch in surprise but not displeasure. "Thank you. I will send you my work on chaos mathematics. You will love how we use randomness to find patterns." Lisa and Kessa were deep in technical discussions, surrounded by sketches of hybrid technologies. "The human power systems are crude but powerful," Kessa was saying, "while our crystal matrices are efficient, but fragile. If we could combine them, already working on it," Lisa said. "Check this out." She showed Kessa a design that made the engineer 4 eyes go wide. It was brilliant in its simplicity, a fusion of human and Velkari technology that should not work. But clearly young Naira had attached herself to Katie's side, asking endless questions about Earth. Do humans really have animals as companions? Not for work, but just for affection. "Oh yeah," Katie said. Dogs, cats, birds, you name it. Humans will bond with anything. Watch this. Katie pulled out her communication device and showed Naira pictures. A small, furry creature appeared on the screen. This is Buddy, my dog. He is back on Earth with my sister, probably sleeping on her couch right now. It is adorable. Naira said, "Can I visit Earth someday?" Katie ruffled the young Valkyrie's silver hair, causing her to giggle. "Sure, kid, Earth would love you." As the farewells concluded, both crews gathered in the docking bay. The Star Whisper still looked like a patchwork, but it was alive. Its crew was alive. And something had changed between two species that should have had nothing in common. Lyrics approached. "Katie, Captain Morgan. I owe you an apology. I believed humans were too primitive to help us." "I was wrong," Katie shook her head. "No apology needed. You were protecting your crew. I would have done the same before boarding the Wanderer." Katie turned back to address the Valkyrie crew. "You know, everybody thinks space is about technology, about who has the best ships, or the most advanced weapons. But it is not. It is about people helping people, no matter what they look like or where they come from. Today, you are strangers. Tomorrow, you might be family. That is how humans see it anyway." She gave a casual salute and boarded her ship. The Wanderer departed, looking just as ugly as when it arrived, but somehow more dignified. Zara watched it disappear into space, then turned to her crew. "We have much to report to the Council, Captain. Do you think other humans are like them?" Naira asked. Zara thought about the question. "From what Captain Morgan said, they are all different but share certain traits. They are stubborn, brave, and apparently incapable of abandoning those in need. Sounds like valuable allies." Lyrics observed her. "Dangerous friends," Kessa added, but she was smiling. The Star Whisper underwent 3 weeks of repairs at the station. The Valkyrie technicians were amazed by some of the human modifications. Several they could not improve upon. The duct tape was carefully removed and preserved for study during the repairs. News of the rescue spread. Other species who had dismissed humans as primitive began reconsidering. Salvage crews reported increased cooperation. Trading posts saw more human Valkyrie partnerships. Month later, Zara received a message from Katie. The Wanderer had rescued a Dracon mining vessel using techniques learned from studying Valkyrie technology. The attached video showed Lisa and a Dracon engineer working together, creating solutions neither species could have developed alone. 3 months after that, the first official human Valkyrie rescue station was established at the edge of the Scar. It was an ugly building by Valkyrie standards, and beautifully functional by human ones. Ships of all species began using it as a safe harbor. The galaxy was learning what Zara crew had discovered in those desperate days. Sometimes the best solution was not the most advanced or the most elegant. Sometimes it was the one held together with tape determination and the simple belief that nobody should be left behind. But the real change was smaller and more personal. Naira kept a picture of Katie Dog on her personal console. Kessa collaborated with Lisa on designs that would eventually revolutionize both species' ships. Thyma studied human mathematics, finding beauty in chaos, and Zara kept a roll of human duct tape in her ready room.